Recently we were contacted by Dokio based on the review that we did of the 100 watt panel, which is 250s, and they've sent us a panel here to review which is 160 watts. So we just unboxed it. This is what is in the box. So you get a charge controller, and we'll take a look at that in a second and see if there are any differences between that one and the one that I had with mine. The pack of cables, again we'll have a quick look through those, and then the panel itself. So let's start with the panel. So as I say, this is a 160 watt panel, and it is based on 4 sort of square solar panels, as you can see here in its kit. So these will be 40 watts each to give you a total of 160 watts. So they're wired together here with this connector. You can see the join at the cable at the top there, and that's a similar connector to what's on the 100 watt panel that I've got. Okay, so we'll do some dimensions and things and tell you a little bit more about those in a minute. So let's have a look at what else we've got. So in the bag of cables, we have, oh, that's different. Okay, so we've got the extension cable here. So this is the one that connects to the solar panel, and then they use these XT60 connectors, which are really good. They're a really high quality connector. So that's the one that would connect onto your panel and then to your charge controller. This one is useful for connecting straight to a battery. So you can click these onto the battery terminals and charge your battery. This is an addition. So I had to make this in the previous one. So actually they include that now, which is really nice. And the wire is, is that pre-tinned? Yeah. So they now include a connector. So if you wanted to wire this in permanently, you don't have to make this anymore. So you don't have to buy these and make these. This will plug into the end of the charge controller, which we can have a look at in a second. And you can wire this permanently in, which is really nice. That's a nice addition. And then this cable is used to convert to different types for connecting to various applications. So you were charging like a power bank or something like that. They give you a selection of cables, and these connect into the end. We just get one of these out, so you can see on the end there. So that connects onto the end of this jack here and converts it to whatever size that you need, and there's a selection of those included in the kit. Let's have a quick look at the charge controller. Okay, so here's the charge controller. So you've got a set of instructions and the charge controller itself. Now this does look very similar. But again, we'll have a look if there are any new features or any updates on that. It's got 2 USB ports on the end, and as you can see here in this information, that you can actually use the USB port without connecting it to a battery, which is kind of handy if you want to charge a phone or some other device. So you've got 2 amps max on the USB. This is where you connect your solar panel. This is where you connect your battery, and you can switch some load. So depending on what you want to do here, you can set this up to actually drive something. And obviously if the battery voltage gets low, normally within the software, you can turn this on and off. So you can control things like lights and things like that with it. I've not done any of that with mine. I use it to basically charge batteries on a boat. But any sort of application like that where you want to charge a battery or charge an external device, it's a great kit. The 100 watt one has been great. So we'll see what the difference is in terms of the performance for this one. What is quite nice about this is that it's a little bit smaller. So the panels are small, even though there's 4 and you've got kind of the length this way, and the panels are smaller. So for myself, the chances are I'm going to get less shading on those panels, because with a boat it's always very difficult finding a space on the boat to actually lay it out fully, and we have found that a little with the 100 watt version, because the panels are quite large, where these panels being a little bit squarer, I think we might be able to do something with that a little bit better, maybe get a little bit more performance out of it. So we'll look it all up. We'll have a quick look at this charge controller and see what options and things we've got on there. And then we'll do some proper testing side by side against the other one and show you what the differences are. I'll just zoom out a little bit. You can see the full panel there. So in terms of dimensions then, it's 52.5 centimetres, so 525 millimetres. And that way it is 47.5 centimetres roughly per panel. For 2 panels, around 96, because there's obviously a little bit of a gap in the case. And then overall for the whole lot, you're looking around 194 centimetres if it was fully pulled out straight. When it's folded up, it is around 49 centimetres long, 53 centimetres wide, and not very thick. Maybe 2.5 centimetres thick. Okay, so here's the charge controller, and as you can see, it's displaying battery voltage. You can see in the top corner here that it's saying that it's in dark, so obviously no solar panel connected. You've got battery and you've got the output to the load. So again, you can start to see here that it's telling you what mode it's in now. I don't believe mine does that, but have a look. So that's an addition. And then I believe we can cycle through this. There we go. So PV voltage is 0 because there's nothing connected. Load, nothing. PV input load. Battery. So there must be some sort of temperature sensor now built into this that's maybe detecting temperature. Again, I don't believe mine had that. And back round to battery voltage. Here you can see on off, so the load is on or off. And again, I'm sure there's some way of programming that. I will have to read the instructions.
A couple of days later, we got a pretty good sunny day, so I set the panels up as you can see here. Probably not the most optimum angles, but good enough for the test. And I got 20 volts coming out of the panel, and it pushed the battery voltage up to 14.2. I saw 4 amps coming out at one point to charge this little battery, and then it sort of settled around 1.6 as the battery started to get charged. Here you can see it's showing a load and how much that little bulb is drawing. Here you can see how the charge controller has increased the ampage to the battery in order to cover the load amps drawn and to maintain battery voltage.
So the charge controller is just running on the power supply at the moment, so you can see that the battery voltage is a little bit low, and at the top of the display here you can also see that the battery capacity is down a little bit. If we long press on the button at the top, the first thing that we see is accumulated charge amp hours. And if we long press on this, we can reset that back to 0. So that's how much power has been put into whatever we've been charging. If we press again, this one is discharged amp hours. So again, we've got a counter there to say how much charge we've taken out. Obviously, I've not done a lot with that, so that's going to be 0. Now we can get into battery types. So B1 is gel or maintenance free. And we can change this to open, flooded batteries, lithium, and lithium phosphate. Here this is the float voltage for that particular battery. This is the load reconnect voltage, so when it's got something plugged into the port at the bottom here, when the battery comes up to this voltage it will turn things on. This is the load disconnect voltage, so when it's driving a load directly from the battery, this is the voltage that it'll cut off, and that can be changed. So this is how long it's going to run for, so you can decide whether you want things running for 12 hours or at a different point. You can set this value here. Currently mine's 24, so it'll be on all the time, and it'll be based on those voltages. This setting is for auto detect of the system voltage, but this controller in particular is a 12 volt battery only, so it's not a multi one. It is only for 12 volt batteries. And then we go back round to the start point of the menu. So that's how you get into the different options, and each one of those can be configured. Okay, so if you want to change one of these settings, so let's say for example we want to change the battery mode, long press, cycle through to the battery one, long press again, and it'll start to flash, and now we can go to the different battery types. So as I say, this one is a maintenance free battery essentially. This one is a open battery, so the voltages are slightly different, and that's referenced in the manual. And then we would long press again, and then that's set.
Well, I hope that's been useful. Just to be completely open and transparent, I haven't purchased this panel. However, I did purchase the 100-watt panel that we previously used. I do think this one is really good. I like the layout. I like the fact that it's 4 smaller panels. And as I say, what we're going to do next is we're going to do some testing with it on the boat. There'll be a link to this in the description if you want to purchase one yourself. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.